So my name is Henry Tsang, and I'm an assistant professor at the REIC Center for Architecture at Athabasca University. I'm also the principal architect of Henry Tsang Architect, a consultation firm that focuses on sustainable and accessible design for architecture. So I have been working in this field for 15 years now, designing buildings that try to reach sustainable targets such as the LEED certification or the Living Building Challenge certifications, and trying to help clients reach goals that focus on sustainability, but also accessibility, making buildings more, but making better buildings and more inhabitable for people and for the environment. If you look at how the LEED system and even all of the other green building systems, the energy category always takes the most points, right? So the energy component is the most important because that's the one that relates to greenhouse gases, and greenhouse gases comes from energy sources that emit from fossil fuels. So I think if there's only one that we would target first, it has to be energy. We are involved in trying to make things better for the environment. So we talk about sustainability because we know that if we don't do so, we'll have very serious climatic implications, right? We know that climate change is happening, global warming is happening, and all that is happening because of many different factors that kind of contribute to the deterioration of the environment. So one of that being poor construction that uses up a lot of energy, and that comes from fossil fuels, and that comes from the greenhouse gas emissions that are emitted. So without understanding the trickle down kind of process of how things work, I believe designing green buildings or LEED buildings is irrelevant because you don't understand the whole picture. Anything that you do that is contributing to the idea of improving the environment is good. Whatever you do, I think, but ultimately the difference is in whether or not it's actually making a contribution or is it just for show. The difference would be in companies that produce measurable data, transparent data that we can actually make them accounted for.
Because without the data, you can't really tell.
Exactly. And I think that's one thing that I think LEED contributes to is that buildings that are designed to the LEED standard have to have periodic reviews of the performance of buildings.
Right.
So let's say a building is designed to save a certain amount of energy per year. Every 5 years, the building has to show that, well, they're reducing their energy by so many kilowatts per year, and LEED continues to give them their certificate. So I think that process, I would say that LEED is probably contributing to the transparency and the measurable, quantifiable data that they're giving buildings. Otherwise, a building could have like solar panels, and we would just assume that they're saving energy, but they're actually not. And I'm actually quite happy that you're, I don't know if you're working by yourself or working with a team.
I have a team.
Yeah,
small.
that you're critical of the LEED system, and you're not. I was kind of a little bit worried that you were trying to celebrate it or trying to kind of promote it even further. But I think
We still have mixed opinions for sure. Yeah.
My point of view is that I'm very critical of any of those programs because I think, well, for one thing, LEED is a paid program, and it's a product on its own. So some people have made certifying green buildings an actual business.
Right.
So this is not like, it's not a government entity that says, okay, we're going to certify you because you've reached certain standard of building. It's actually a business that's trying to do it, and it's charging the owners to get certified, and it's actually paying for commissioners, like people to come review buildings, and also paying for like that big plaque that you get. I saw a lot of your questions being focused on LEED, but my takeaway is that, well, is LEED is probably the most well organized, and that's why that we follow it. And it's the easiest for government officials to understand. So let's say government wants to develop a green project, they would just say, okay, just follow the LEED system, and then we would know it's LEED, or we would know it's green, and they would pay for it. It gives it credibility, and I think that, and it's easy because it's a point system, right? It's like checking, it's like a checkbox. So it makes it a lot easier to define what green buildings are. Otherwise, we won't know, right? We would just say, okay, just put solar panels and it's green, but that's not the only thing. So it makes it easier for people who are not in the building industry to say, okay, we got something that we can define as a green building.